MDOT presents the Extra Mile Podcast.
Welcome into another edition of the Extra Mile Podcast presented by the Mississippi Department of Transportation. I'm Paul Catul, and as always, joined by my co-host, Will Kraft. He's wide and awake this morning. And listen, Will, we have a very timely guest, fortunate, unfortunate, with what happened last week. We have Southern District Public Information Officer Anna Ehrgott. Anna, thank you so much for walking down the hall and being a guest for us.
Absolutely. Anytime, Paul. Thank you for having me. Love
Absolutely.
The podcast.
Big fan, I know, for sure. We've talked about this. So, listen, we're going to lobby a softball real quick. So, kind of just talk about your background, what you got into before you got to MDOT, what led you here?
Sure. So I have been in state government for 16 years now, believe it or not. I started out at the Public Employees Retirement System. Then I went over to Mississippi Development Authority, where I worked in communications and economic development and in tourism efforts. And then I went over to the Mississippi Arts Commission, where I did communications at that agency and coordinated the Governor's Arts Awards every year, in addition to many other communication projects. I was kind of a one-man band over there. So after a few years of that, I came over to MDOT, where my husband had worked for many years prior to that. And I joined a team of people, so now I can do things like take off in the middle of a tropical depression, and someone still is able to answer media questions. So it's got a lot of perks to it, and I cover the Southern District, District 6 and District 7, which for those of you who are not vastly familiar with the district system of MDOT, that covers both the southwestern portion of Mississippi with Natchez and Macomb, and also the southeastern portion of Mississippi, which covers Hattiesburg, Pine Belt area, and the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I answer media questions. I also run the hurricane campaign each year, and, all the other things that y'all tell me that I need to do. So anyway, without further ado.
Love it.
And for those internal listeners out there, for our MDOT folks, Anna is one of the spearheads for the roundabout that you guys see every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Seems like it's faster than that, as all the work that goes into it. But yes, lots of stuff, lots of really worthy and important things that you do for us. We very much appreciate you and all that you do. And as Paul mentioned, for being here, taking some time to do the podcast with us today. Segue for you, one thing you just mentioned and alluded to, hurricanes, etc. We're wide open already.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So hurricane season begins each year on June 1st, and it ends on November 30th each year. So that's about 6 months of the year that, we need to watch out for hurricanes. Normally, we don't see a whole lot of tropical activity in June. Of course, the past couple of days were quite an exception with Tropical Storm Arthur and all the flooding impacts from Tropical Storm Arthur. A lot of roadway flooding and, already saturated ground from the rain that they had earlier in the week in South Mississippi. So, still working on some of those impacts.
Oh, I'm sure. My yard was flooded. I had ducks and geese swimming around everywhere. I was just blown away by how much water came in such a short amount of time, which I guess that is why they call it flash flooding. But, yeah, absolutely. What is it? Turn around, don't drown.
Turn around, don't drown.
Please.
Famous 4 words. So please abide by those, and plenty of other flooding tips out there for you as well. We still have a couple of impacts lingering from that storm. One is in Clark County. That is State Route 512, and it is currently flooded roadway, so please use an alternate route if you drive that way in Clark County. And another kind of longer term impact is going to be some on Highway 26 in George County. There is a shoulder slide right there in that area, and it is currently barricaded off to traffic. The slide is a little bit more significant than our forces are going to be able to fix, so we're going to let an emergency contract in order to fix that slide. So right now, just avoid the area and use some alternate routes if you drive that way.
Yes, and our director, Brad, asked that I'm explicitly say this, and we're going to be, using these phrases on social media and other places as well. But please, please, do not move the barricades. Do not go around the barricades. They're only there to save your life. We're not trying to be the bully or the bad guy. Please don't go around the barricades. We want nothing more than for everybody to just make it home. Tomorrow we'll get here, as long as we don't do everything under the sun we can to make it more dangerous on daily things. To turn around, don't drown.
Don't drown.
Please
that's
don't go
right.
around the barricades.
And we don't close roads for fun.
That's right.
There is a good reason behind every road closure, and even though it may not look like there's anything all that significant to the naked eye, our engineers have all the data, and there's a good reason why those roads are closed. So please do not drop down around those barricades.
And this may sound, I'm probably preaching to the choir, and this may be beating a dead horse, but it's if you do have a Z71 with an 8-inch lift and some brand new Nittos, you might can make it through, but you move those barricades, and then Grandma in her 93 Pontiac is coming down the road behind you. She is not going to. And we actually did have something like that happen on a bridge project last year.
Yep.
You guys remember? We had somebody move the barricades at night, and a lady just driving on the way home, somebody had moved the barricades, didn't know any better, ran off that bridge. Now, fortunately, she didn't hit the water. Ended up being a relatively minor incident. But yes, I'm gonna jump off of this pedestal. But please, don't move the barricades. Thank you.
Don't jump, Will. Don't jump.
Right.
That's wild. And hey, listen, Tropical Storm Arthur, no bueno. We don't like you. Not a good deal. And too early. But like you mentioned, June 1st is the beginning of hurricane season.
Sure.
So you never really can tell how early things are going to kick off. So why don't you kind of give us a rundown on hurricane prep? What do we need to do?
Sure. So definitely go ahead and visit gomdot.com/hurricanes in order to check out some of the different hurricane materials that we have. We have a lot of information out there, especially on hurricane evacuation. So this is something that we produce each year, and this is the Hurricane Evacuation Guide. And it contains a map inside of all of the different official hurricane evacuation routes. So we encourage everyone, especially those who are living in South Mississippi, to check out the guide. Make sure that you know your hurricane evacuation route well in advance of an approaching storm. Go ahead and choose at least one hurricane evacuation route, and then go ahead and choose a secondary and even a third, just in case. We know that congestion increases really rapidly during a hurricane evacuation, so you want to have plenty of options out there. And we encourage people to always evacuate north, and also not everybody can take Highway 49. So we really encourage people to take alternate routes so that we don't have a ton of congestion, and we can keep traffic flowing, and people can get to safety as quickly as possible. Another really useful tool that we have on our website, and you can get mailed to you as well, is the Hurricane Preparation Checklist. And this will give you all the information that you need as far as what to pack during an evacuation. I know that's it's not just your clothes that you'll need for a few days. There's definitely other items that you might want to have with you in a hurricane evacuation as well. One, of course, is water, making sure that your pets are taken care of, making sure that you have some non-perishable food, that you have all your prescription drugs, and anything else that you might need during that time. It also shows you information about how to prepare your home or property for a storm. And some of those things you can go ahead and do now, like trimming some of the limbs around your house, making sure that you've got a place to store some of your patio furniture, things like that can become lightweight and become projectiles even during a hurricane. So really important information there to note. And also we have both of these items available in Spanish and Vietnamese as well. So if you know some of those folks who may not have access to the English version, or who may need a foreign language version, certainly check that out as well. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Hurricane Katrina documentary that we did last year to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the storm, and worked on that with our fabulous producer here, Drew Hall.
Hey-o.
And anyway, it's a really good, really great documentary, and it shows just how far-reaching the impacts of Hurricane Katrina were for Mississippi and how quickly and efficiently, MDOT was able to rebuild in the wake of the storm. And also, just some of those lessons learned from a hurricane of that proportion. So definitely go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. I'm going to throw in there as well our partners in this effort, MEMA. You interface with them all the time and doing this. One of their big messages is preparedness, obviously, but the first 72 is on you, right?
Yes, the first 72 are on you. So make sure to have as many supplies as you'll need to make it for those first 72 hours, after which time, MEMA does provide some resources, but definitely the more that you can ensure that you're prepared and that you and your family have what you need for 72 hours and even beyond, the
That's
better
right.
off you'll be.
And this is absolutely not to be construed as, this is not a knock on MEMA at all. It's more just reality, right? That first 72 is on you. They're telling you they will not get there before 72 hours. Hopefully they can get there at 72, 73. I mean, they can't assure anyone of that, So, again, I can't imagine. I got 3 little girls. I've got the prep stuff secured. We're not even really, in the hurricane area here. But, 72 hours doesn't seem like a whole lot, to be on your own there. But I think things go quickly when chaos and panic sets in. 15 minutes now, thinking about that stuff can go a long way.
Right, absolutely. And, some of the impacts from the storms are, you may not have water for 72 hours or more. You may not have electricity for 72 hours or more. And, of course, for most of us, no electricity means no air conditioning. So, these are all things that, people need to plan for.
Yep. No doubt. Listen, we get all the weather these days in Mississippi, so be prepared, especially when you're driving. So listen, there's some big projects going on in the Southern District, which you cover. Do you want to break down some of those for us?
Absolutely. So one really big project on the southern portion of the state is the I-10 widening project. And that project goes from County Farm Road over to Diamond Head in both Harrison and Hancock counties. And in that area, they're widening from 4 to 6 lanes. And there's some other interesting components to that project, one of which is a noise barrier wall that has been constructed right around the Diamond Head exit. And just beyond that noise barrier wall is a multi-use path right around that neighborhood. So that helps, increase pedestrian safety in the area. And of course, that widening project is a really big deal for that area because as y'all know, I-10 gets pretty congested pretty quickly. And, when our forces go out and do maintenance on that stretch of interstate, closing a lane on I-10 it really increases congestion very, very quickly. And
Just a
I've
bit.
been in that situation before, and it is not fun. So just having that additional lane on I-10 in that area is really a game changer for that area, for sure.
Love that.
Amazing. Good stuff for sure. And then there's a Mardi Gras route. We love Mardi Gras.
We do love Mardi Gras.
What does a Mardi Gras route mean?
So that is the new Amtrak line that goes from New Orleans to Mobile, and I actually got to take a little trip on that train as the part of the inaugural run with Commissioner Busby, and it's a really cool, really interesting way to get around. Especially there's several stops in Mississippi: Bay St. Louis, Biloxi. Pascagoula, and I know that I'm forgetting one of them, but a really great way to get from the Mississippi Gulf Coast to New Orleans or Mobile, wherever you'd like to go. And certainly, it's something worth checking out.
I can't remember how long it takes to get from Mobile to New Orleans. Does anybody remember that?
I do not remember.
On the train? Yeah. We'll get that for
It's quick.
Yes,
out
but
there.
it is pretty quick. And, certainly, if you've ever paid for parking in New Orleans or Mobile, certainly I think that you've taken care of your parking fees just by taking the train instead. And it's certainly a pretty ride.
Oh, no doubt. Mississippians love to go to New Orleans. I try to make it, at least 3 or 4 times a year. So just jump on that train and head on over, right?
Yep, get on the train.
Love it.
Yeah. Any other big, important projects, updates, news from the Southern districts?
Sure. So there's also there's a lot of them. So picking
sure,
is difficult, of course. There's a lot going on in the South, especially the Gulf Coast right now. One of the really big projects is the State Route 57 project. That is a $212 million project that's being constructed right now, and it's going to 4-lane and provide some new alignment all the way from I-10 stretching north towards the Lake of Pines area.
Okay.
And so what that project does is that it really relieves some congestion in the Van Cleve area. There's several schools right along that route, and in peak times, there's a lot of congestion right there. It's also a hurricane evacuation route. And so by providing another alignment for it that goes around some of those schools and also 4-laning the entire project, you get not only reduced congestion, but also a really efficient way to evacuate from a hurricane there as well.
That.
So it's a big project. I believe 13 bridges were constructed as part of it. So it's a huge undertaking.
It's a huge project, no doubt.
Yes, and it is nearly complete.
Love that.
So about another year of construction on it, and it should be open to traffic, hopefully all portions of it in the spring.
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
Rocking and rolling down there on the Mississippi Gulf Coast and
Absolutely.
D6 and D7. Well, listen, Anna, that's a lot of good information. You've got it all memorized and everything, so you're killing it for sure. We do have some fun questions before we get out of here, though.
Yay.
Fun times on a Monday. Will, you want to kick us off, sir?
Sure, I'll be glad to. I'll take the food question for you today.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't have to be coastal area specific.
Okay.
I know that you spend, let me even rephrase that, Southern District specific. I know you spend a lot of time down in that area. But we like to eat, as you know.
Yes.
We're always looking for a spot. What have you been to either lately is like a new favorite or something that, it's not on the beaten path, so to speak. It's a little bit out of the way, but every time I'm in that neck of the woods, we're going here. You got anything?
I've got so many, Will.
Okay.
Actually, it just depends on where I am. I will state, some of my favorites on the coast because I do love to go to the coast and I do love to eat when I'm on the coast.
Understandable.
And there's a lot of good food to be eaten on the Gulf Coast. Great seafood, certainly. My favorite has got to be White Pillars. It is, a bit pricey, but it is so good. And they change the menu seasonally, so I feel like I get just the creme de la creme of the Gulf Coast when I go to White Pillars. Some other favorites for oysters, I like to go to Bacchus on the Bayou over there in Ocean Springs, and there's a great little brunch place over there too in Biloxi called Brew Paddle Cafe, and that's kind of in heavy rotation as well.
Very good.
And of course, there's some great spots in Hattiesburg too. Certainly Crescent City Grill, that's standard there, and Tabella's, and even Ed's Burger Joint. Lots of good stuff in the Southern District, and Macomb and Brookhaven and Columbia and all those places as well have got some really good restaurants.
Very good.
Columbia, wouldn't have guessed it. I'm gonna have to go check that out for sure. Hey, those are some good options right there. We know you know food. You know your stuff, and also I know you know music. I've been to a bunch of shows with you. We've had a lot of good times.
We have.
Me, you, and Michael Flood, who was on the show earlier. So is there a concert that sticks out? I know it might be tough, but favorite concert over the year that sticks out to you?
Oh, gosh, let's see. That is kind of like choosing among children. I will say I love a Grateful Dead cover band show. I really do. That's got to be some of my favorites. I've definitely gone to plenty of North Mississippi All-Stars over at Dueling Hall and various other places. I've been out to Colorado to see String Cheese Incident and just went to a string cheese show over in Birmingham, Alabama that was a ton of fun. So I went to Avondale Brewing Company there. That was the venue, and I'd never been there before. Really, really cool venue. So kind of smallish, but very interesting, very cool.
Nice.
Love it, love it. What's your favorite Grateful Dead song? I know that's probably hard. Just throw one out there.
Oh, gosh. Oh, I didn't know that you were going to ask these hard questions. These are hard hitters, Paul.
Sorry.
Oh, let's see. Shakedown Street is definitely one of the favorites. China Cat Sunflower, I Know You Writer, and of course a good Scarlet Fire. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Grateful Dead lingo, Scarlet Fire refers to the song Scarlet Begonias, which then goes into Fire on the Mountain. It's a very famous transition song, and I love it.
That's some gorgeous, gorgeous songs there. Anna, you're killing it with the music Rex as well. So thank you so much for everything you do here at MDOT, and thanks for coming on the show.
That's right.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me. And remember, go to gomdot.com/hurricanes to get all your hurricane evacuation information.
That's exactly right. I was just going to slip in there. So these guys are the ones who took me to my first Grateful Dead cover show. So did that. And then you mentioned North Mississippi All-Stars. Funny story there, but they took me to the first one there. So first time I've been to either of those two or with you guys. So I guess string cheese is something I've gone to look out for now. So there you go.
It's
string
next.
Cheese.
We're going to kidnap you and take you away from your ladies for a little bit and take you to a string cheese show.
String cheese and hurricanes. Here we are.
Yes.
There we go. What a combo. Well, thanks again, Anna. We'll go ahead and wrap things up there. Thank you to our listeners, our viewers for tuning into the Extra Mile podcast. You can watch and listen to episodes by visiting gomdot.com/The Extra Mile. Follow us on social media at Mississippi DOT is the handle. We want to thank our editor, producer Drew Hall for holding things down behind the scenes. And remember to drive smart out there on Mississippi highways.